And we're back.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
I hate, more than anything, well, obviously I'm not going to get on my soapbox too long, because this is not my episode, but I hate it when you're like, hi, everybody, and then somebody's like, wish I was.
I've never heard anyone say
It's
that.
not a funny fucking joke. I just want to put that out there.
All right. So, Thanksgiving coming up.
Thankfully.
So, I did some research on Thanksgiving, and I found out some stuff. Found out some stuff regarding the original Thanksgiving that we all know and love, like the 1600s. Like the Indians said, "Hey, take our land. We'll teach you how to farm it."
Yeah.
And then, and then I found out some facts about the food and like some modern day facts about it. But we'll start from the beginning. So everyone knows.
Good place to start.
Everyone knows that the Pilgrims came to America because they wanted religious freedom, right? They felt like they couldn't practice their religion freely. So, the religious freedom that they actually wanted was the freedom to restrict other people from practicing religions that weren't theirs.
See, everybody wonders why I hate the fucking Pilgrims, but
They were what would be known now as a cult.
Yeah.
Back then, they were a cult.
Shocking.
They were a more radical sect of the Puritans, which I don't know how you think you could be more pure than them. It's in their fucking name.
Right. Puritan. They're also very tan.
They didn't want to be called Pilgrims. They wanted to be called the Separatists.
Which is funny to me because I just refer to them as cunts.
And so what really happened was King James I of England said, hey, you can do your cult stuff. Just don't try to force it on other people.
Obviously.
And they said, well, since we can't practice our cult in peace, we're going to go to the Netherlands.
The Netherlands.
There was a period of time called the Dutch years.
Ooh.
Before they came to America.
The Dutch?
No, the Pilgrims.
Okay.
The Pilgrims, the Separatists.
Whatever you want to call them.
They went to the Netherlands and they settled in a town called Leiden. Alright? So the Dutch actually accepted them. They were like, hey, yeah, you can do what you want. Sure, that's fine. So they were there for 11 years. And after 11 years, the Pilgrims got upset because the Dutch didn't want to join their cult.
What are the odds?
So they set off to North America. And they almost died because their boat was very poorly made. The Mayflower was not a very sturdy boat, and it sprang a shit ton of leaks the whole way to America.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow, they couldn't even do that right.
Actually, they weren't even the first English settlers to reach America, as many people say. They didn't even want to be settlers. They were actually headed to the already established Jamestown, Virginia. They were headed to an actual place. They didn't want to settle anywhere new.
They wanted to take over.
But they missed Jamestown, and they ended up in modern-day Massachusetts. They missed their original target because none of them were experienced sailors, and strong winds blew them off course.
Good.
And so they were actually pretty pissed when they found out they were not in Virginia. But they were like, a lot of us died on the way here, so we're just going to stay.
Naturally.
And now some facts. They did not wear buckle hats. I just ruined a lot of people's day. They did not wear buckle hats because buckle hats didn't become fashionable until about 100 years afterward.
I like to think of the buckle hat. And somebody was just sitting there looking at a regular hat, and they were like, man, we need something to keep that hat up.
Also, Abraham Lincoln is the one who approved it to be a national holiday. And he approved it to be a national holiday because a woman wrote a letter and requested it.
Dear Lincoln.
So the woman was named Sarah Hall, and her claim to fame was that she wrote the song "Mary Had a Little Lamb."
Excuse me.
But she had written to 4 other presidents asking for it as well, and they all denied it.
Yeah.
That was Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, and James Buchanan all said no.
As one would.
Thomas Jefferson had also been asked, but his quote said, "To make Thanksgiving a holiday is the most ridiculous idea I have heard." So Thanksgiving was officially declared the 4th Thursday of November by Congress in 1941. Congress in 1941, when they actually did stuff.
When they actually did stuff.
Franklin Roosevelt tried to move it a week earlier because he wanted to lengthen the amount of time of Christmas shopping. He wanted to add like another week of Christmas shopping to help boost the economy because it was right after the Great Depression was ending. So he was like, hey, we should make it a week earlier. That way it boosts the economy more because that's when most people do their Christmas shopping, is between Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve. Congress said no.
Naturally.
Because why would they want to make it better for the American people ever? So
You got to keep them panicking.
it's also a tradition, apparently, that presidents will pardon a turkey on Thanksgiving, like as a joke.
As a joke?
But the first president that actually did it wasn't until George H.W. Bush.
He's the man.
Lincoln, JFK, Reagan, and Nixon all made jokes about it, but none of them ever did. The first one to actually do it was George H.W. Bush.
See, the Bushes are so confused about everything. They just stumble into things. And he was probably like, oh, they do this every year.
Yeah.
I've got to do it. And
Also, do you know what a turducken is?
no.
Okay, it is. It's a chicken stuffed inside of a duck, stuffed inside of a turkey, and cooked.
That's real morbid.
And so it's called a turducken. And the recipe can be found for like old cookbooks, but it's based on an original recipe from 1807. The original recipe was called Roast Without Equal. And it consisted of 17 different birds cooked together. It included skylark, thrush, quail, ortolan, lapwing, golden clover, partridge, woodcock, teal, guinea hen, guinea fowl, wild duck, red pheasant, wild goose, buster, and fig pecker, which is officially my new favorite species of bird, fig pecker.
Fig pecker. You know, just going by the Pilgrim's track record, I'd have to imagine that they thought mixing all those birds together would give them the ability to fly.
Yeah, so speaking of that, everyone, when they think of the first Thanksgiving with the Pilgrims, it's usually a date from 1621, which is about a year after they landed at Plymouth Rock. And, you know, they had already settled, they had, like, learned to farm, so that's when they had the feast, was about a year later. So, things that they did not have at the first Thanksgiving would include turkey.
Of course.
Pumpkin pie. Sweet potatoes.
Disgusting.
Mashed potatoes. And cranberry sauce. None of that was at the first one. They more than likely used goose or duck, and they also had a lot of seafood and an assortment of nuts and corn.
That sounds dreadful.
Yeah.
Like,
Also, forks were not invented yet, so they only had knives and spoons.
I was about to say, did they do what the Philippines do? It's custom in the Philippines to just eat with your hands.
Is it?
Yeah, I used to know this girl from the Philippines. She was really cool. Her name was Alex, and she's actually she's like married to my friend that I used to hang out with all the time. But she told me.
Wait, what was her last name before she got married?
Holiday.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Because I knew a girl named Alex, also from the Philippines. But her last name was Gong.
Oh, okay. Well, that's actually a cool last name. I like that fucking last name. But no, her last name was Holiday, which is a cool last name too. But she told me that in the Philippines, it was not abnormal for you to just eat with your hands. And I was like, that's actually kind of cool. That's an interesting footnote for culture. We couldn't get away with that here. I couldn't just go to fucking Outback or something and just start.
True. I mean, you could.
People would just look at me like I was a fucking moron.
Well, speaking of...
Which is lame.
Speaking of dinners, though, TV dinners were invented because of Thanksgiving leftovers.
Really?
The Swanson Food Company, after Thanksgiving in the late 60s and late 50s and early 60s, realized how much food they had left over.
Mm-hmm.
So they packaged turkey, gravy, mashed potatoes, stuffing, corn, and green beans together into aluminum tins and originally sold them for $1. Excuse me, $1.
That would be actually good this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to get all that for $1.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, speaking of stuffing, the first known recipe for stuffing is from the 4th century. That's how long stuffing has been around. Also, the part of the corn that we eat is the flour, not the actual plant.
Really?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
3/4 of grocery store products contain corn. If you look at the ingredients of almost anything you buy,
It has corn in it.
it has corn in it.
Which is also how they keep the American populace addicted to sugar. Because...
corn has natural sugar in it.
Exactly.
Also...
it's also in everything, I might add.
Yeah. Also, peas. Ripe peas are yellow. We eat them before they are actually ripe. So maybe we could be missing out on a really awesome food and we just don't know it. Because,
Do you not like peas?
Because we're trying to eat it too quick.
Do you not like peas?
I do like peas, but what if ripe peas
Are better.
1,000 times better?
It's like when Mitch Hedberg said, I have these refried beans, but why didn't we just eat them the first time?
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, that's right. It's totally right.
Also, most of the turkeys used for Thanksgiving come from Minnesota. Before that, every state grows potatoes. All 50 states grow potatoes.
That explains something, though.
What, the Minnesota or potatoes?
Minnesota.
What about it?
That explains why every time I bring a turkey home, it has this annoying accent.
Well, the second leading cause of turkey death is heart attacks.
Really?
Yeah.
It must be stressful knowing that you're going to...
The first leading cause is Thanksgiving.
Well, yeah. That's probably why they have heart attacks. They have it in, like, October, late October. They start having heart attacks and shit because they're all panicked.
Also, so football on Thanksgiving is sort of a tradition. And it started in 1876 when Yale played against Princeton. And then when the NFL's first season in 1920 started, they continued the tradition. And the Detroit Lions have become most famous for playing on Thanksgiving. The only time they have not played on Thanksgiving was during World War II.
Rich people get really bored with their lives, and they have to figure out traditions. That's what I've come to find.
Well, here's another tradition. The first Thanksgiving parade was not a Macy's Day Parade.
Well, I don't think Macy's existed then.
It was, the first one that they can trace back was the Gimbels Thanksgiving Day Parade, and it was held in 1920 in Philadelphia. It is still held today, but it is not called the Gimbels Thanksgiving Day Parade. It is now a very corporate The 6 ABC Dunkin' Donuts Thanksgiving Day Parade.
That's a really long name for a parade.
Yep.
I'd forget about it by the time I got there.
The first Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade wasn't until 1924. And they didn't use balloons, they used real animals.
How did they make them float?
They didn't. They just walked them down the street.
Just being stupid.
Also, the balloons were not introduced until 3 years later in 1927. And for the first couple of years, because there were no airplanes, whenever they were done, they would just let the balloons go. And they would just float off into space.
You know what would be better than animal cruelty? Balloons. What kind of fucking guy? He was just like, dude, I know what we need here.
So yeah, that's...
And then they'd pop.
Yeah,
And
I mean, that's...
you can only go so high into the atmosphere. And there's litter and everything.
So this episode was kind of short, but...
Fuck the whales, that's what they said.
Happy Thanksgiving.
No.